See, George filed another document today. I guess I better talk about the gorgeous George news really quick. And he's been on a false flagging streak again lately. He's, I'm not kidding. This is like unlevel precedent. Jesus, presidents. You know what I'm talking about once again. It's late at night. I'm derping as usual. But he's been false flagging videos like the butthurt faggot that he is lately. And as you can see, George filed another document with the court, and this one is really special, as you will see here. So, blah, blah, blah. George actually got the date right this time. He didn't file it more than 10 days afterwards. He filed it on the 7th. That turned out to be 17th. You gotta love this. Dear Honorable Judge Gibney, all caps, no comma. George still fails at the grammar department, and pretty much everywhere else, as you'll see. Okay, so scrolling down here, hopefully you guys can see this. Let me just double check really quick. Okay, good. Yeah, because I'm too lazy right now to do this the other way around, where I just like record my voice and edit this in like Power Director or something. Not to mention I'm really tired and don't want to edit right now. So yeah, let's talk about this. I spent the better part of the half with the capital L of day, better half of day, at the University of Richmond. Boy, it's hard to believe that George actually took the time to actually go to the University of Richmond, you know, because that's where the VCU retards came from. TC Law Library to comb through some case law, because, you know, the judge is too stupid to know about fair use, since that is really simple to understand for most judges. In all caps, regards to my intellectual property, period, I have two cases proving rights for copyright owners and against fair use, because as we all know, George is always right and he would never bullshit. As you'll see here, he lied twice in this document. God, the way he writes, in docket number case 16 blah blah blah, TCA Television Court versus McCollum, this was about, it looks like copyright, but the way George writes, since, you know, he's not typing this shit out, it looks like, shit out, it looks like the Y has infused with the L. It looks like a big X. Infringement suit. Plaintiffs challenged the district court's determination that the defendant's verbatim use of portions of Abbott and Costello's iconic comedy routines, Who's on First, and recent Broadway play Hand of God, qualified as non-infringing fair use. The courts concluded that the defendant's entitlement to a fair use defense was not so clearly established on the face of the amended complaint as its incorporated exhibits as to support. Jesus, wait, he writes, it's so hard to understand. Dismissal in the case, defendant's verbatim use of routine was not transformative, and defendants failed to persuasively justify their routines. Why does he capitalize the T there? He doesn't have a period there. Routines. Defendant use of some dozen variations of Who's on First was excessive in relation to any dramatic purpose, and the plaintiffs allege an active secondary market for the work. Plaintiffs TCA Television won, and that was probably because, one, they used the same clip multiple times, as just stated here. In the same, there's multiple reasons why this does not relate to this case, but George once again is pulling all of this out of his ass. Let's see, and cease and desist was granted. All right, let's go over this again, because once again, George is, for one thing, I'm not a Broadway play. I'm just a troll online. I'm not making $1, contrary to what George says later about. Seriously, I've not made $1. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna talk about that later. But what George is saying here is completely, it's bullshit to what he's gonna talk about later. Pulling all of this out of his ass. Okay, so in the United States Court of the Central District of California, case number blah blah blah, Henley versus DeVore, popular singer. Now, This is apples and oranges. This is we're talking about freaking music here, and since George is not a singer, and he doesn't write lyrics, this is almost completely. It has nothing to do with what's being talked about in the suit. Charles DeVore for using his music in a political video to lampoon President Obama and Nancy Pelosi. Oh, George knows about that too well. As well as Barbara Boxer used on YouTube. Defendant Charles DeVore, who was a candidate for U.S. Senate and a member of DeVore's campaign staff, recorded versions of the two songs in this attack, changing the lyrics and editing the video Boys of Summer and All She Wants to Do Is Dance. After successful attempts to stop the defendant from using alleged parodied involving the DMCA takedown notice of plaintiff's work, Henley sued for copyright infringement in blah. Well, this one's actually a no. I mean, all they did was one. They, of course, once again, money was being made off. Well, not money, but I mean, there was clear, gain. I mean, I'm not gaining one thing, contrary to what George is about to say below, from doing these videos, except, lolling at George. Let's see. Stop alleged parodies involving the DMC takedown notice of defendant's work. Henley sued for copyright infringement in court's usage of Boys of Summer, and All She Wants to Do Is Dance was later proven that there was no fair use. Now, I find this to be completely ironic, since George himself has, like I said, he's copyright infringed several SNL bits, including the Hillary Boy skit, and there was one other thing that he completely ripped off from Howard. Oh yeah, Fart Man. He completely ripped off Fart Man from Howard Stern. So it's like I said, pot kettle black. And not to mention, once again, I'm not gaining anything from doing these videos, contrary to what he's about to say below. Okay. Regarding the Hope of November campaign usage of the songs for campaign contributions showed no fair use in the case, and Henley's body of work was not authorized for the campaign. For DeVore, any permissions or authorized usage, Don Henley won damages and re-edited versions were removed. It's like I said, there was multiple reasons for that, and I bet it's because most of the lyrics were not changed. You also got to redo the song too. And here's the difference between me and like these cases that are described here. I completely re-edit all these videos. I mean, rarely. I don't even think. I'm trying to think if I've directly uploaded something that George made, and nothing was really coming to mind right now. So he's pulling. It's like I said. One, he's comparing apples to oranges here, and two, he's pulling a lot of this stuff out of his ass. Now going back to my work. The defendant has made reference to making Okay, now this part is complete bullshit. I've never made ad revenue. Now, oh, and you gotta love how he puts a hyphen between you and tube. For one thing, this happens with any video on YouTube. It goes through Content ID, and if any of your songs, match what's on Content ID, YouTube monetizes it. So I have, it's like I said, I have no control over that. That's YouTube. I'm not making $1. I strongly request the courts to make comparisons and start the process of this particular God, his writing's so goddamn bad case to be heard. I hope that I have given comparisons in these two cases and have brought merit and legitimacy for the case to be tried in the District of Virginia. Once again, George is pulling a lot of this information out of this ass. He has no evidence that I have made money on YouTube. None. He's completely lying here. So, like, matter of fact, I should write a court document telling that, how he's full of shit. And he's full of shit again, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Thank you for your cooperation and consideration in this trying matter, George Alexander Yarid. Now here's the other part of perjury here. Certificate of service. I hereby certify that I have mailed a copy of this foregoing to the following blah blah blah. Now, George has claimed this in the previous two documents, and my parents have not received anything from George yet. Not a single letter. So he's lying here. He's lying. He's not mailed out any one of these things. Otherwise, I would have gotten a call from my mom or dad saying that, you know, you got a letter here, and I would have signed for it. So once again, George is pulling this information out of his ass here. And case law discovery. So yeah, George once again is lying out of his ass. And there's at least 2 direct pieces of evidence in here that I can easily prove. I've not made any money on YouTube. Not contrary to what George believes, I've not made any money on the film festivals either. What I did was I actually declined the money because I knew that George was going to make a deal out of this, that if I did take the money, you can take a look around if you want, George. I've not made $1 from your videos. Not made one single dollar. And even if that was the case, I'm still protected under fair use because I edited and reworked all the freaking things for the movie, for one thing. I mean, none of that stuff except for you being in it was yours. I re-edited everything. I added some stuff into it. And I know for a fact that if this was tried now, I would be protected. Not to mention, George, you said your show is worth nothing. That's the other thing. You have to prove that your show is actually worth money. You just can't expect money to come from this just because, you know, I quote unquote, I mean, once again, I didn't infringe on anything. I'm still protected under fair use, whether you like it or not. But as I stated in the other video, the bankruptcy video, he's not made $1 from this show. So how does he expect to make money from me in, the courts? So that's about it. I don't think anybody's watching. I'm going to take a look really quick. Holy shit, Blast from the Past is watching. Wasn't expecting anybody to watch this. So, yeah, I just wanted to make this quick video, and I'm sure George is going to be butthurt by this. By the way, I'm going to be filing a counter document, which I'm sure George is going to love, where I showed that and how he lied in the previous case about not knowing that, the case ended, which he was full of shit. And I'm sure I'll put a couple other things in there, too, like the fact that, the reason that George is filing this is to cover his bankruptcy, because if you notice, like back in 2010 when he started filing this stuff was when he was, I think at that point he was 50,000 in debt, something like that. Anyway, I just wanted to make this quick video discussing George's latest court document, and there's going to be lolsy stuff to come soon. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye. Woo!